Good afternoon. It's Sherry Peoples, and this is my research defense. My research questions: how did the Transcontinental Railroad transform the landscape of America? In what ways did it contribute to national unity and accelerate westward expansion? How did travel and commerce change as a result of the Transcontinental Railroad, and what were its byproducts? The significance of this rail research is that prior to the Transcontinental Railroad, the nation and its territories were divided, with the center of the continent serving as a barrier to trade, travel, and communication. The Civil War was occurring at the time the Pacific Railway Acts were signed, and the railroad connecting California was believed to be a way to permanently tie the nation together. It reduced the isolation of the western frontier by revolutionizing travel, lowering cost, and shortening times to destinations. Westward expansion accelerated as settlers followed the path of the railroad, creating new towns and markets. Now, the primary sources that I focused on were diaries and journals, government documents, and newspaper articles. The diaries and journals were used to portray experiences of travelers heading west prior to the Transcontinental Railroad for comparison against the changes that the railroad brought. The government documents gave information on the government's role and commitments between parties in funding and planning routes for the Transcontinental Railroad and subsidiaries, such as in the Pacific Railway Act of 1862. It laid out all the cost factors, the land grants, the loan terms. In the completion of the Southern Pacific Railway and telegraph line, I actually found where they listed out the towns along the route. Orange, Texas, which is the town where I graduated high school from, which is not a very big town. So that was quite an interesting thing to find in my research. The newspaper articles provided a broad scope of information from land sale advertisements, stagecoach routes, to exploration of pathways for new trains. They revealed complicated rates to haul grains across the state by steamer compared with using the train to haul it to ports and ship it to Liverpool. And in one particular instance, they noted it was actually cheaper to haul it across the continent and across the ocean than it was to put it on the steamer and haul it across the state of Minnesota. Ultimately, my approach to this research focused on the great accomplishments and progress that accompanied the creation of the Transcontinental Railroad. The first transcontinental connection in Promontory Point in 1869 was followed by additional transcontinental lines, and the nation was truly united by thousands of miles of railroad tracks that followed the connection. Travel and trade throughout the country improved. International trade was also improved as a result, particularly to Asia out of California. Westward expansion took on an accelerated pace as settlers came from eastern parts of America and from European countries to settle along the paths of the trains. There were some additional benefits. Discoveries in science as railroads cut their path through the mountains and valleys, revealed fossils and things under the top layers that they were able to use to research to find what had been before. The need for coordinating schedules led to the creation of railroad time, which became 5 time zones across the nation and ultimately was a precursor to the 24 different time zones that we have internationally now. It did create a need for regulation. The International Commerce Commission was created to give oversight in 1887, and with the passing of the Hepburn Act in 1906, that gave an even greater amount of oversight to the ICC. But part of what also was included was greed and corruption and fraudulent dealings, even with accusations against the sitting Vice President Colfax. The Native American way of life also suffered from this as their lands were taken and given to railroads and settlers. So ultimately, this was a grand enterprise, but at the end of the day, so much changed and so much conflict for particularly the Native Americans. There is question as to whether it was worth the cost that was paid. Thank you.